consumers because they have moved away from those channels themselves. So it's a lot of innovation that has to go in how to communicate with these retailers. And then you see, looking at the mega trends we have right now, and one is of course that your first screen today is your mobile phone. I mean, an average consumer looks at their mobile phone 80 times a day. And that phone is an iOS or an Android device today to 90%. And even when they watch TV, 80% of us who actually still, the few people, I want to say, so the people still watching TV, 80% of them actually has their smartphone in their hand while watching TV as well, which is quite interesting. So we're seeing, and then of course, it's been a major shift into social as well, how we communicate with each other and how broadly we communicate as well. Before we communicate with 10 people, then we communicate with 100 people, and now we're connected with 1,000 people or more through social graphs. So you're looking at these trends and you realize that something has to happen here. And so we started Wrapp actually saying, we don't really know what's going to happen here, but we have some thesis how to go to market. How can we build a minimal viable product to actually try to marry, do something fun and simple for consumers, getting consumers actually to interact with the brand in their daily, when they communicate to their friends, without the brand being intrusive in that communication. Where actually people decide to pick a brand and actually send that to a friend in whatever context. It could be just sunny Friday, or it could be, miss you, or happy birthday, or whatever. And the brand is then giving you the opportunity to give away a free gift card. So we kind of looked into the gift card industries, but that must be a small industry. The gift card industry here in the US, only in the US, is $110 billion.
What?
Yeah, so people are buying gift cards in this country for $110 billion. The retailers are spending $180 billion or so on marketing. They're going to shift to mobile. So probably we're going to have a $100 billion shift into mobile, and the $110 billion digital gift card market will most likely shift. A big part of that is going to shift into mobile over time. And then you have retailers, the brick and mortar retailers today, extremely struggling to keep revenue per square foot up in their stores. So they need to find a much more efficient way to communicate and build a trustworthy relationship with consumers without being intrusive with those consumers. So we kind of said, it's time for some innovation here, and then we started Wrapp. So we started off with usually taking gift card digital, which is kind of obvious, but then we made them very social and actually tried to make a way for you to be able to give small gift cards, but much more high frequency to your friends for other occasions, another gesture. And what we're seeing, 75% of our users are women actually, so it's women are much nicer because they are more social. They're more social, and they're more caring about with their friends, and honestly they're more into retailing and shopping as well. So I mean, those three trends are kind of the fundamental behind why Wrapp is used by women mainly. And it fits the retailers very well, because what I didn't know was that women has a much higher average receipt value when they go shopping than men. Men tend to go in and buy one thing they're looking for and then go out as quick as possible. While women tend to go in and they buy things for themselves, potentially to their spouse and to their kids and maybe to grandma or mom and stuff like that. So their receipt size tends to be much bigger because they shop for the family and they shop more for friends in general. So it's been a very interesting learning for us. We've been in the US now for 12 months with the service. We have 1.5 million users, 15 million gift cards have been sent to Wrapp. But it's only the start. I mean, we're looking at this as a journey, as I said before. So we say this is a good MVP, minimal viable product, and we're now adding more and more services into this.
So what's next? Can you tell us some?
I mean, we're doing a small thing that comes out here in the near future. I mean, you can see the new design of the app. So we open up for 2 tools that later on are going to be moving into something else that I can't say yet. But so the first one is, of course, the social gift card that we have, that you can do free gift cards that the retailers are sponsoring for you give, and you of course can top most of them up with more money. So it's actually the cheapest way to buy a paid gift card because it starts off with a $5 or $10 off, and the most convenient way to send it to people as well, and so forth. And if you're a little bit cheap, like most people are, we have realized, is that over 90% of our gift cards are only the free, people sending free gift cards to each other. So we're adding now is actually exclusive. So based on your behavior, if you're sending a lot of H&M to your friends here in the US, H&M can actually say, hey, you're such a fan, or you're such a good ambassador for H&M, so we're going to give you 50% off on your next purchase. You can get exclusives in the app where H&M can reward you for good behavior.
Like a club member.
Yeah, a bit like club and loyalty and rewards based on behavior. And so we're adding that tool. And of course, with a gift card, which is something which doesn't have any restrictions. You can go in and buy something for the value of the gift card. And of course, a 50% off or 2 for 1 and stuff like that has restrictions, because then of course you have to buy and you get the discount instead. It's the 2 tools that we have, and then we're going to do a lot of interesting things in between those tools.
So I have one question, since I'm of course a big user of Wrap. I give and I send gifts. But when I want to add, it's not always easy to add more money.
Yeah.
So is there a strategy behind that they want people to come into the store and basically buy?
Yes, it's actually interesting here. So we started off in Sweden, and in Sweden it's much easier to add money to it. But here in the US, what we realize is something called the Credit Card Act, which means, so some of the gift cards you can add money to, but this is what we're working out with the retail industry right now, is that the free part, if you only give a free gift card in the US, it actually been seen as a promotional gift card, and then it doesn't hit the balance sheet of the retailer. But directly when you add money, it actually becomes a liability for the retailer, and it hits their balance sheet. And the thing is, when you add money to a free part, even the free part hits their balance sheet. So that's things that you learn when you kind of enter into the market, and you need to sit down with your customers and say, hey, we have to figure this one out. And that's what we're working on right now together, both with the biggest retailers here in the US, and we're working with H&M, Victoria's Secret, Sephora, Toys R Us, Guess, Tommy Hilfiger, Gap, and so forth. Is really to figure out how to kind of package this slightly different. And then we're working with the big kind of processing networks, First Data and SVS, that actually are kind of connecting retailers with the retailer infrastructure behind the point of sale systems. So that's the thing, when you do a minimum viable product, and then you evolve the product. And of course, when you get engaged with big customers, you would like to hold the product together with those big customers.
So I'm actually gonna let some audience questions in here. Do we have any questions from the audience? We do have a hashtag called Nordic Stars. So if you've sent some questions into that, Christina probably have that. But do we have anyone with a question to Hjalmar? There we go.
Hey, Hjalmar, can you talk a little bit about your sort of personal characteristics that you have contributed to your success? If it's technical knowledge or product vision or get the best out of people, I mean, what is it that's contributed to this amazing streak?
First of all, I don't see myself that very successful. I don't know if I have the wrong, maybe I have the wrong board right now.
Yeah.
No, so I had dinner with Reid Hoffman yesterday, and we had a private dinner in a room, and he said, "This room, Hjalmar, usually me and Mark Zuckerberg have dinner here." And of course, when you think about that, when Reid and Mark sits there, pretty much control the social graph, not only this country in the world. Of course, you don't really see yourself as a successful entrepreneur in that context. But I think in general, first of all, I love technology, but I'm not a technologist. So from that point of view, I've never written a single line of code myself. But I've always been surrounded by people that love to write more than one row of code. And I believe that one of the things that may, if it's a strength or not, is that I'm quite aware about my weaknesses. So I usually tend to talk about what I'm not good at, and I try to find people that I can get excited about the journey and the vision we have with the company I'm involved in, and try to find people that are much more competent in a specific field than I am to complement my skills. So I think if something that I'm probably quite good at is to have a very strong vision about the mega trend, what's going to happen, have the guts to just get going without having the answers, and say, we're going to get the answers on our way there. And then I'm quite stubborn. And honestly, for some reason, I thrive more when it's very difficult. And I think it's more intellectual, interesting to actually work with something that is very difficult to do. I'm not talking, when I was at Microsoft for 2 years in 99, 2000, when that was the biggest company on the planet and most successful company ever, I think. and try to get Microsoft into mobile internet. I mean, it was just, you can only fail with that because it was so obvious they should win that back then. But I'd rather do it from like a David rather than Goliath position, and try to really understand how to position the company, and then try to build relationships where you need to build relationships to be successful. If it's distribution, it's important, you need to understand who can help you with that. So with Sendit, we were able to get fairly close and have a kind of hate-love relationship with Ericsson, and Ericsson actually was very strategic for us to get our stuff out on a global basis, because back in 96, 97, 98, the big mobile operators did not have any vendors in our size. I've never seen a vendor in our size. I remember when we did our deal with Vodafone in 96, 95 actually, we signed and we sold the first mobile internet platform to Vodafone. They had 2 vendors, one fairly big and one very small, and the very small one was Sema Group, which was a consultancy group with I think 25,000 employees. That was the small vendor, and there was Ericsson, was the slightly bigger vendor they had as a partner. And they signed with us, and we had 12 employees back then. Then I remember they said, we're going to come up over to Stockholm and do an audit, and they brought more people to our office than we had employees for the audit. And my guy who did the sale in London, in Newbury, where they had their office, which is a village outside London, which is only Vodafone buildings actually. He said also, he'd always talk about their headquarters in Stockholm, the Sendit headquarters in Stockholm. And they've been visiting Ericsson's headquarters in Stockholm, so they had a view of this company. But so when they came to us, they were a bit shocked about they had signed a deal with a company with 12 employees. And that's another story. But I think one of the things I'm quite focused to get things going and quite stubborn. But I'm trying to surround myself with people that I can convince about the vision, but are complementary with skill sets.
Even if you're very, very humble with your own role in the startup ecosystem and what you've actually done, you are a great and huge role model for startup entrepreneurs out there, and your name is mentioned all the time and all that. So yes, that's the fact. Don't be so Swedish. No, but really, so basically, I want to ask, because here in Silicon Valley, basically a huge part of the culture is the people like yourself that are paying forward, they're giving back, that are supporting, and how important do you think it is to give back, to support the startup ecosystem in Sweden, for instance, where you're from?
I do a lot of that work in Sweden actually, and I actually, before I started Wrapp, I kind of felt that it was time for me to take a step back, and I should do more angel investments and actually get involved in companies. And it's a lot of people mailing me who like to get advice and so forth. I kind of felt that maybe this is what I should do. And I actually is an advisor to Creandum, which is a local VC firm in Sweden. And actually they could have one guy here in Silicon Valley here, moving here, Johan Brenner. And they just closed the fund as well, 130 million euros. So that's really good for the Stockholm and for the Nordics in general. So I kind of felt I'm going to funnel my kind of deal flow through them, and then because I did one angel investment, 2 actually. One is iSettle, which is a quite successful payment company now. I think they raised a Series C now. I don't know how much money they raised, and they are really doing a good job in Europe. So there's kind of the Square of Europe, but it's chip-based. It's a completely different technology than Square. It's much more complex technology, because in Europe you're not allowed to have magnet stripe only, so it has to be chip readers, which makes it much more complex how to build the technology and how it's service-centric and so forth. So I was quite excited about that company, and I invested directly in that company. But then I just realized I need to have a structure, because I'm quite unstructured person, so I felt I need to be part of a structure. So I decided to join Creandum as a venture partner. And then I actually quite intrigued to look at big companies as well. So I'm a senior advisor to EQT, which is one of the largest private equity firms in Northern Europe, 18 billion euros under management. And I'm a board member of Springer until next week, I presume, because Springer got sold last week for, what was it, $4.4 billion, which is a good deal, mainly for EQT, a little bit for me too, but mainly for them. So I kind of was interested to look at big companies as well. But I mean, from an entrepreneurial point of view, I think it's very important that people like me are giving back. and I'm very keen to do that. So I'm quite busy with all the companies I'm running right now. As you know, I'm the CEO of this company. I'm a founder of Epidemic Sound, which is one of the best kept secrets from the Nordics. You met some of the founders.
Are you allowed to say something about it?
Yeah, I can
it's
say
really
things.
Cool. That's gonna be the next hit.
So it's a very interesting company actually. I had lunch with Salar yesterday, who's the CEO of YouTube, and we're launching a trial with YouTube with that company. So the two other founders were here. We actually jumped into them. So we had lunch with Salar, and then we did a small kind of pre-pitch on Sandy Road as well while we were here. So that's a very interesting company that I'm involved in, and then of course iSettle, and then Reptel, which I'm the chairman of. So when I find time in between, I try really to support entrepreneurs.
So what do you do in your spare time? I know you probably don't have one, but you have to have some kind of, I know balance is such a word that everyone uses, but so what do you do to